Hello everyone. In this video, let's discuss about what we can expect next week, a week ahead video for September 3rd week 2025 for the Indian stock market in terms of Nifty and Bank Nifty. If required, please pause and have a look. The whole month of July and August first week, Nifty fell for 6 straight weeks on average 1%, total 1300 points. Then August 2nd and 3rd week, it recovered 1% each week as GST rationalization was announced on August 15th, but on the following 4th week of August, it decreased those all 2% because of Trump 50% tariff kick started on August 27th. And the Trump team thought India will bow down to the pressure, but my personal point of view, it's good Indian government stood on their ground. Following that, in the last 2 weeks, approximately Nifty increased 1.5% each week and claimed above 25,000 mark. So for the week ahead, the important question is, will it close positive for the 3rd week? If so, how much? After Trump sworn in as president, only one time Nifty closed positive for the 3rd straight week. That too when he announced 3 months spare time for the tariff agreement in April. Hence, the present India-specific positivity like GST rationalization and minor India-US trade sentiment improvement, is it enough to make Nifty to continue the rally? Only time will tell. Last Friday, after the Indian market closed, Indian government released the August month consumer inflation data. Overall, in line with the analyst expectation, it came as 2.07%, which is above the July month data 1.61%. But it's a very positive data. It came within the RBI's target 2 to 6%. And again, for the 3rd month in a row, food prices got the deflation rather than the inflation. If you see the whole subcomponents, it's mainly vegetable prices deflated 16%. And if we omit the food and fuel, then the core inflation is coming around 4.1%, same as July month. Hence, it's very good, consistent demand. Now, potentially, this low inflation could demand the RBI to cut the interest rate further. So this week we could expect some analyst and research group to release their report and opinion that whether RBI will cut the interest rate or not in the upcoming MPC meeting, which is due in 2 weeks time, October 1st. And for that, in the next 2 weeks, potentially our market could react for it. Then the second important macro that could influence the Indian market as well as the global momentum is US interest rate decision, which is due on coming Wednesday. In the last 5 straight FOMC meeting, Fed paused the interest rate at 4.5% and it was in line with the analyst expectation. And this time, market expecting the 25 basis point rate cut, and all global market adjusted their prices already for this 25 basis point rate cut. So if Fed didn't do means it might destroy the global positive momentum. And it's not just that, every 3 months once, along with the Fed chairman press conference, they release the Fed official projections. Like how much interest rate in 1 year, 2 year and 3 year they're projecting to have, and very important, what will be the interest rate projection for this year end. Previously for this year end, it was projected to 3.9%. Which means apart from this upcoming Wednesday 25 basis point rate cut, Fed is projecting that they might do another 25 basis point rate cut before the end of December. So that's what we need to look out this FOMC meeting, whether they are keeping the projection same or they are projecting further less. If they are projecting 2 more rate cut this year means, then it's positive for the Indian IT stock and for the global momentum. Just for info, along with the interest rate, Fed will also project the future inflation and growth rate. Hence, we could expect all to influence the Indian market and global momentum. Third, over the weekend during the G7 meeting, which includes EU, UK, Canada and Japan, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent urged all to impose tariffs on India and China over Russian oil purchases. So far, there is no information from any of the G7 countries whether they will join US or not. But if by chance European Union placed any tariff or even a talk about that could influence our market. This is how Trump administration has been doing the cheap tactics, isn't it? Giving pressure to India externally while the trade negotiation was going on, like asking Apple not to produce iPhone in India, etc. So in a way, this kind of signaling trade negotiation is not going as per US plan again. And all the Indian minister and Trump team saying that they expect the trade deal with India only by around end of November month, not before. However, on the very much positive side, yesterday US President Trump made a post in his Truth social media that he sent the letter to all NATO nations and to the world. If required, please pause and have a look. In short, he said he is ready to do major sanctions on Russia and he wants all the NATO nations to stop buying oil from Russia. And as a NATO group, he wants all the 32 countries to place tariff between 50 to 100% on China. Here, this is positive to India because not even one single time in his post, he didn't mention anything about India. I mean, dealing with Trump always reminds me of a proverb, never wrestle with a pig, then we both gets dirty. But the problem is, pig like that, but we don't. So best for India and our Prime Minister is better to ignore and avoid US and Trump team. To be honest, I don't know why he again turned back to China. Potentially, I think US-China trade negotiations is also not going as per what Trump administration wants. So he is strong arming other countries to join. Thus he could benefit. Or he's just trying to win the Nobel Prize, or maybe he might be just trying to divert the global attention to the trade war so the US public could forget all about the Epstein related issue which Trump team struggling to manage. Either way, this is his starting of his craziness cycle. In 1 or 2 weeks, we could expect it to peak, which then obviously will influence the Indian market and global market. Hence, look out for any potential development. In short, these three things are to drive the market this upcoming week: India's inflation reaction, US interest rate cut decision, and G7 countries' decision for the US tariff call on India and China. Other than that, on macro wise, on Monday, first early morning, China's unemployment rate, retail sales data, and industrial production growth rate is due. Then during our market hours, India's wholesale inflation and Europe trade related data is still released. And in the aftermarket hours, India's trade related data and unemployment rate is due. Then for US, New York manufacturing index are the things we need to look out. Here, as long as no super good or no super bad data, we don't need to worry too much on these macros. Then on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Europe economic sentiment and in night US retail sales growth rate for the August month are the important ones. For Wednesday, September 17th, during our market time in the afternoon, August month UK and Europe inflation is due, and in the night, very important from the macro perspective, US interest rate decision is due to release. As we discussed, whole global stock market prices are already adjusted, so potential short covering or profit booking could happen, and it expects to influence the Indian market on the following day, Thursday 18 September. And on that day, during our market time, there is nothing that I am aware of could influence. Whereas in the aftermarket hours, Bank of England interest rate decision, US weekly jobs data, Philadelphia Fed manufacturing index, and Fed balance sheet are the important things. Then finally for Friday, before our market opening, Japan's consumer inflation and Japan's interest rate decision is due. So that will influence the Asian market, which in turn expects to influence our Indian market. Here, just repeating the important things, US interest rate decision on Wednesday, Friday Japan's interest rate decision are the two important major macros expects to influence the Indian market this upcoming September 3rd week. Then about IPO, on Tuesday, Euro Pratik sales a decorative wall panel making company, and on Wednesday, VMS TMT a steel making companies, and these two will be opening for subscription. So that's all in this video. Hope you all got some useful information. Please consider subscribing the channel and liking the video so that it will help me beat the YouTube algorithm and also motivate me to do more. Please don't make any investment based on this, as I'm not a SEBI registered advisor. I'm doing this for me and viewers educational purpose only. Thanks for watching.